Welcome to Kitchen Conversation with Lisa and Sterling, and today we're going to talk about eggs with our expert Lisa.
Oh no, that's the last of the jokes, really it is. No more jokes.
No more jokes on eggs. A very serious subject.
It is. I mean, it's amazing. You and I are old enough to remember when the old advert, do you remember, go to work?
On an egg.
On an egg, yeah. And everybody had the dippy sort of soldiers and the dippy egg, and that was all lovely. And then all of a sudden, in the 80s, it all went horribly wrong, didn't it?
Because we were both EHOs at the time, weren't we?
Yeah,
when
yeah.
The famous 1988.
Yeah. So, and then suddenly eggs were not good anymore, were they, Runny? And that was because of salmonella. So the difference then was that the salmonella was actually not just on the outside of the egg, but it was actually somehow got into the inside of the egg. So the chickens were laying the eggs with the salmonella inside, as well as contamination on the outside. And suddenly the incidences of salmonella went just up exponentially, and it was a bit of a disaster then for the egg industry, but particularly when Edwina Currie became famous.
I remember it.
And what was interesting was her mistake, really, for her career, was that she actually used the wrong word, because she said the whole of the egg industry is infected with salmonella. Whereas if she'd said it was affected by salmonella, she might have been more correct, and she might have probably kept her job. But she was right to have raised the issue. But of course, for the egg industry, it was absolutely devastating.
But the industry responded really well. I mean, it's one of those cases, here's a problem, and then people coming together to get a solution, isn't it?
It's been a brilliant success story if you think about it. From going from that point where the industry was probably on the point of collapse because it was just devastating for them, to say, right, how are we going to rescue this? Let's get a code together. Let's make sure that these eggs in future are not going to be contaminated, and we will look from the beginning of the chain all the way through at all the points that are needed to control it, and weave in some welfare as well, and critically begin this vaccination programme of the flocks and the weeding out of the contaminated birds. And that's taken a long while, but they've got to a point now where we can go back to having a runny egg safely again, even for vulnerable groups. And that's an amazing success story.
And that's why the FSA have taken a step back now, isn't it? Quite rightly, they had all those restrictions on who should be eating runny eggs, and now anyone can.
That's right. I think the only restriction now is actually for people who are just about to go into surgery. There's a very, very limited number of people who they recommend don't have them, but even vulnerable groups are now allowed to have a runny egg, so long as it's a lion brand egg.
That's the point. I hadn't appreciated till fairly recently, because I like my eggs really runny, and I eat a lot of eggs. I thought all eggs were okay now. And of course, if you go abroad on your holiday, you start to take that with you, thinking, I can have a runny egg because they're safe. Whereas it's only the lion mark that will guarantee you if that egg is safe or not.
That's right. So in the UK, the majority of eggs are lion brand now, and that gives that guarantee that actually they're British and that they're safe. And when you go abroad, of course, those conditions don't apply, and a lot of countries do have more salmonella than we do as a result of that. So you have to be particularly careful, and there's still quite an issue with Spanish eggs. So we do forget when we go on holiday.
I must say, I'm guilty of that. Lisa.
Yeah, but how protected we are in the UK in many respects. I mean, I've gone running around doing inspections of hotels all around the world, and you forget how well protected we are in the UK compared with it in some other countries.
But not all of us. I mean, since our conversations on eggs, I mean, we're in the middle of Wiltshire now, and there are a lot of farms around here that are selling farm eggs.
Yeah.
And it suddenly occurred to me, well, actually, they don't have the lion brand on it, and they don't have all those controls. So what assurances can I get that those eggs will be as safe as those that would have a lion?
Well, you have to treat it with caution, really, because you can't have the assurance that it's going to be salmonella-free. And it may well be that they have vaccinated their flocks and they carried out various other controls, but you don't know that. So if there were vulnerable people that you were serving, then you really would have to make sure that they were cooked all the way through. Now, interestingly, I've done quite a lot of work on actually seeing how you can get scrambled eggs to be absolutely yummy and runny. And you can get them to 75 degrees, but what you have to do is you have to cook them really slowly and keep stirring. And if you can actually get them to look quite runny and still be 75, but of course you need a probe thermometer to do that, otherwise you can't guess. But I've managed that. So if you are in a situation where you can't get a lion egg, then that's the sort of thing you need to do. But obviously if you want to serve a boiled egg with soldiers, you wouldn't get to 75 if it's still really runny.
No, I'm sticking to the lion brand, to be honest with you. And then if I get something from a local shop, I just make sure it's really hard boiled, or I deep fry it a lot, so I've got some assurance that it's going to be safe.
Or you could bake it in the oven, for example, as well. And some of them are really, really yellow as well. I just read about a baker who's disqualified from some competition because they thought he put colouring in his food, but actually he had free-range eggs, and they were very, very yellow. So I mean, it's a shame. It would be nice to see more people join the scheme, really, so that everybody's protected. And of course, one of the problems is that people only hear half the headline, so they hear, oh, it's okay to eat a runny egg again, but they may not hear the rest of it, which is it's got to be a lion brand if you want to do that. And so we need to just make sure that there isn't another sort of surge of salmonella from people eating the non-lion brand eggs and then not cooking them enough. So that's something else to sort of be aware of, really.
But it's great that food scientists come up with an answer, isn't it? It's always terrific when you have a problem like this that you can actually think you can turn it around.
Wouldn't it be great if they could do this for Campylobacter? Wow. That's the bacterial illness that causes more food poisoning than anything else. And yet we haven't got a vaccine for that, but we know where it's coming from, most of it. It's a shame.
I feel quite hungry now. I think I might now go and have a nice poached egg.
Really? Now I like a poached egg with some avocado underneath. That's really good.
So we got away with only one egg joke, because one egg joke is enough.
Now that's two.
Thank you for your view, Lisa. I certainly learned something more today.
Well, thanks, darling.
So that's goodbye for us, Kitchen Conversation.
And goodbye from us again.
Thank you.